This is it, the last leg of my Outer Banks journey. From Ocracoke Island, where the adventure began, I'm taking the Cedar Island Ferry south, and along the way, I'll show you how to book it, what to expect, and a few surprises waiting on the other side. To make a booking for the North Carolina Ferry, the process is pretty easy. Just go into Google and type North Carolina Ferry, NC Ferry. Pick either the first or the second choice from this list, and this pulls up the ferry schedule. Enter your from location and your to location, so in my case, Ocracoke vehicle to Cedar Island, and this displays a list of the running times. Note that some of the departures are seasonal, so please make sure that you're looking at the right choice. Also, there's a listing of all the cost. For a typical vehicle, less than 20 feet, it's $15, so pretty reasonable considering the distance. So the next thing you'll do after checking all that out is to actually make an online reservation. You'll go to the online reservation choice, click that, go down into Reserve a Ferry, pick your date, and then select the route. Again, in my case, it was Ocracoke to Cedar Island, vehicle ferry. So I select that. I select my vehicle classification, number of passengers, and then Book Now, select a time. You'll enter in the rest of your details, and then you'll check out. When you go to check out, you'll enter all your information, and you will receive a confirmation by mail. I recommend that you print that out, keep that with your vehicle, so that when you go to check in, that you can show them that receipt, and it'll make things easy and fast. Good morning. I do. Yeah, take care. So currently on the Ocracoke to Cedar Island Ferry, just boarded just about 15 minutes ago. I'll give you some impressions of that. And now leaving Ocracoke, you see it just there. There was another ferry that was parked next to us, and I'm pretty sure that's the one that goes to Swannanoa. And got about a 2.5 hour crossing, very organized. Ferry left at 10 o'clock, and you're supposed to be there at least a half hour before. I was there a good hour plus early, and basically took a few pictures and videos around the area around Silver Lake, which is the main lake that's behind us, and you also see the Ocracoke Lighthouse there off in the distance. Maybe a little windy. I'll try to duck in a little bit. Hopefully you can hear me. Cost of the ferry was $15. You make reservations online at the North Carolina Ferry Service. Extremely important to have a reservation to make sure that you're able to get on the boat, and lots of different options there in terms of number of people, and if you have a trailer. These folks just to my left here have a big boat, big trailer, so that's all possible. It's just a matter of making a proper reservation and then showing up at the appointed time. And again, on the North Carolina Ferry Service, that does list all the various times that are available. And also, I think somewhere after Labor Day, they start reducing the frequency of the ferry. And likewise, the ferry between Hatteras and Ocracoke Island also, the frequency reduces down once you get past Labor Day. The number of trips go down substantially in line with the number of tourists. But beautiful view here of Silver Lake and the area. Let me give you a view of that. And we did have a chance yesterday to go out to the point at the end of Ocracoke Island, and that would be kind of straight ahead on the right-hand side. You do need a beach permit to be able to do that. That's also available online. I want to say it was $50 for a 10-day pass, or you can get an annual pass. I believe it's for $150, but you can check the Cape Hatteras National Seashore website. I believe that's through the National Park Service to be able to get that. I'll put a link in the description below if you're interested in further information. As we were pulling into Cedar Island to dock, I noticed over on the left-hand side several kiteboarders just ripping it up. The wind was pretty sporty, and I decided to drive over there and take a look at that. So I just made it over to Cedar Island here from the ferry from Ocracoke, and just south of the ferry terminal there's a beach and a campground, and there are some folks out here on kiteboards. I assume it's called kiteboard. I've been corrected about this before, but it's a board with a kite. I'll put some footage up for you to take a look at. But these guys out here are ripping it up. I mean, the wind, I am guessing, is in the 35 to 40 mile an hour range, and it is just absolutely ripping. And these guys out here on these kiteboards are just tearing it up. I mean, air time, hang time of 10 seconds, 20 seconds, something like that. So it's really sporty conditions for these guys, but they are really ripping it up. So I'll give you some impressions of what it looks like, and also took a number of photos. So I'm hoping that this time I can do better than I did in Bonaire with the wing foiler. I think I had the right gear, the right settings, and everything, that I can hopefully get some better, and that I can really get some better shots, and used continuous shooting, so really ripped off a lot of shots here in a short period of time. But anyway, take a look, and I'd love to hear any comments that you might have. So just leaving Cedar Island, heading south, and wanted to give you an impression of what it looks like here in this area. And you can see where the water table is. I think it's high tide. It looks like it's high tide, but the water is literally 2 feet, 3 feet below the road. And you can imagine with storm surge, with moon tides, with other types of things, that it doesn't take much for a lot of this area to become underwater in a lot of these houses. And I recall when I came through this area on my motorcycle in 2018, they had just gone through a pretty major storm, and there was a huge amount of damage and a lot of displacement, property damage from a lot of the houses that are built on the ground. And you'll see that like a lot of places on the Outer Banks, for example, people are building up on stilts to elevate their home, let's say 10 feet, 12 feet above the ground level, to provide a little extra comfort, to provide a little extra safety factor. So it doesn't take much, and these people, just like the folks on Ocracoke Island, are really exposed to the elements here. So we're making our way south. Next stop is going to be Morehead City. I'll probably grab a late lunch there. It's roughly 12:30, quarter to 1 right now, and my ETA is about 1:30 to Morehead City, and let's see what that looks like. So we'll catch up with you in a bit. Making my way south from Ocracoke down toward Charleston, and I stopped here in Morehead City and looking for a late lunch, and I found a place called Southern Salt. But really had a great lunch at Southern Salt right here, and I had kind of two appetizers, as I've been doing, and I had the New England clam chowder, which was really good. Then I had a appetizer order of clams, and they were delicious. Had a great sauce with them, butter and garlic, really good, really salty. And also right next to where I had lunch at is a place by the name of Olympus Dive Center, and I've actually dove with them years ago and have made several trips down here to Morehead City with the dive shop that I used to work with in Greenville, South Carolina, called Bermuda Triangle. And we used to come out here, and one of the things that this area is known for are the wrecks that are located in the Atlantic just off the coast. And the whole area here is known as the Graveyard of the Atlantic, and there's quite a number of World War II era wrecks, including a very famous German submarine called the U-352 that actually sank a number of ships that were traversing the shipping lanes going north to south and south to north. The U-352 actually ended up in a altercation with a Coast Guard cutter, and it was sank with all hands on deck. And a few of them actually survived, and it's an interesting story about them being held in captivity here on the U.S. coast. I'll put some links in the description about the story of the U-352 And another interesting fact is that the original owners of the Olympus Dive Center was actually the person that found the wreck and made a lot of the interesting discoveries that are on display in the dive shop. So of course I had to stop there. I had to get the obligatory dive t-shirt and stickers, etc. And now we'll continue on my way. But great little break, a great stop here in Morehead City, North Carolina, as I'm making my way south. And beautiful, beautiful area. Lots of creeks and harbors all along the way here, eventually leading out to the Atlantic Ocean. And one interesting point is that as you make your way out to where all these wrecks are, the graveyard of the Atlantic, it's quite a trek to get out there. As I recall, 2.5 hours, something like that one way, and you pass through an area called Frying Pan Shoals, and due to the shallow waters there, it can be quite rough at times, and I know that there were several times that everybody going out on the boat got seasick, so it was definitely an interesting time. But so that's it. That's Morehead City, North Carolina, and let's get back on the road and make our way south. So, all good things must come to an end. This is the final episode in my Outer Banks series, and what a ride it's been. I've shared stories from Collington Island, where I grew up, wandered through the towns of Manteo and Wanchese, spent time on the crown jewel of this series, Ocracoke Island, and now we're wrapping things up aboard the Cedar Island Ferry, headed south toward Myrtle Beach. I've really enjoyed putting this series together, every edit, every mile, every story, and I hope you've found it enjoyable and meaningful to watch, as it's been for me to create. If you're getting something out of these adventures, I'd love if you could hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me keep exploring and telling these stories. And speaking of stories, we're shifting gears, literally. Up next, a few motovlog episodes, including my recent ride to Edisto Island and some news stories from the Low Country, places rich in history, character, and that southern coastal soul. So stay tuned, lots of good stuff on the way. And I'd love to hear from you. What kind of context do you want to see next? What part of the Outer Banks series did you enjoy the most? Drop a comment below. I always read them and respond to them as soon as I can. Take care, and I'll see you in the next adventure.